All right, I'm currently on the phone with Reba. She's another musician that currently reached out about the interview session. So I'm going to go ahead and give her the chance to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Reba. My current project is Fireside Shadow, and I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, welcome. So let's kind of go back in time a bit. Tell me about when you first encountered music and first had a personal connection with it. What do you think about music had such a prominent impact on you?
Well, my parents actually met in a band. So my parents were musicians. So I've always been around it. And my dad had like a drum kit in the house and had a DAW system as soon as like that was a thing. And even before that, he did things analog. Yeah, I was always around it and encouraged to make it, and then yeah.
Okay. So did your parents kind of steer you in any specific direction, or were they like, hey, this is the environment, pick and choose what you want to do?
Oh yeah, they didn't really say a whole lot about what I could and couldn't do, and I just kind of came upon it naturally, and all the stuff was just kind of there at my disposal, so that was pretty cool.
Okay, so tell me like what that process was like growing up in that environment. What do you think you gravitated more towards and away from others?
So I always gravitated more towards things like rock. I was only exposed to like the rock that they listened to growing up. And of course, 90s pop. I'm a 90s kid. Um, but I grew up listening to like Fleetwood Mac, Doobie Brothers, and things like that my parents listened to. And I always wanted to make stuff that was a little closer to that. And I would just kind of noodle around on the piano. And I mean, I'm still not like great at piano or guitar or drums or anything, but I loved I loved playing them anyway.
Okay, so you were in the environment that had a bunch of instruments available to you, and you kind of
Right.
plucked around on each of them a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so a jack of all trades, but a master of none sort of thing.
Kinda. I ended up being more so a vocalist as I got older.
Okay,
But
yeah, so let's talk about that. Being in that environment, I would imagine there's like a creative atmosphere that kind of brought out the natural storyteller kind of vibe. Tell me about how you kind of went in that direction.
yeah, that was always what I was gravitated towards the most, even though I liked all of it. I think I wanted to create things kind of as a whole. But yeah, I wanted to be an author when I was younger too. So it was like just kind of like a natural thing, I think, to become more of a vocalist and try to write stories in songs. Um, I don't know. Is that a good answer?
It is, yeah. So tell me a bit about the types of like songs and content that spoke to you and really draws out that want to like write lyrics and be a vocalist.
Right. So I was always really drawn to, at least lyrically, songs that like are deeper than they seem. And it's like if you pay attention to it, you can always find more within it. And I strive to write like that. Even when I was little, I would strive to write like that. But when you're little, it doesn't come out that deep. But
So how old were you when you actually started recording? Since you had all the equipment available to you at an early age, at some point were your parents just like, well, you got this stuff, let's try to track some of it.
oh yeah. Well, I didn't really get to record my own stuff until I was older. It was like my dad kind of went mega Christian and had me singing Christian music that he wrote.
Oh, fun.
It wasn't my favorite, but I was maybe like, yeah, I had to be, I don't know how old I was, 8, 10, maybe. And then I kind of got to noodle around in GarageBand when that was finally a thing. And just record stupid little things. I know I was in 5th grade. I don't know how old I was. because he made me give out my songs as Valentine's. That was great.
That's kind of cute. So tell me about when it became a project that was more under your control. You mentioned GarageBand there.
Yeah.
At what point were you able to start creating the songs that you wanted to create?
I did get to at that point. I started with like learning how to. Honestly, it was like loop tracks, like little GarageBand loops that you still hear to this day randomly in music sometimes. So I wrote songs with the loops at first, and then as I got a little bit older, I was still am a lefty that learned guitar righty, so my playing is really awkward. So I kind of reached out to other people when I got a little bit older for like, hey, we should write songs. And I started a band when I was 15. And that didn't really go anywhere because we were 15. And then when I got a little bit older, early 20s, I started a real band. And we had that one for 5 years. And that we did a lot more. Like we played shows and wrote songs that it was kind of a compromise between everybody's taste. But I felt like that was more my own. And then now I work independently, and that is completely my own. And I've been really loving the freedom with that.
Yeah, so let's talk about your current project. You went through all these iterations, had a band, and then eventually kind of ended up on your own to write your material. Tell me about the project that you're working on.
Yeah, so this project is Fireside Shadow. It's kind of, I wanted video to be a really big, important part of it too, because I feel like visuals with songs just make that story like that much more like you can be enmeshed in the world. So I also, on top of writing songs, I try to put out some sort of video with every song that I release too. And so the project is kind of realizing that. And then I'm still not the strongest player. So, I'll play sometimes, but a lot of it's like keyboard that I do. And then maybe like a simple guitar part, I might ask like, a music buddy if it's a little bit more complicated of a part or I want a solo or something. But it's a little bit more on the alt rock side, but like electronic too.
Okay, so tell me a bit about how you're doing that collaboration. Are you searching for people like Craigslist or Facebook? You mentioned some of them are your buddies, so you have like that real life connection to them. But tell me a bit about how you're kind of putting all that together.
So, luckily I got close with a lot of musicians when I was in that band. So I have I have a lot of really talented players that I know. I haven't had to utilize them too much. So far, I've just had one buddy play a guitar solo on one of my songs, and I'm working with a couple other musicians right now on future releases. But it's kind of people that I came across organically and already knew.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome. So is the goal eventually to have like a full album to release, or are you perfectly content just doing, the song every couple months in a video kind of thing?
I want it to result in an album. I'm kind of questioning that at this point just because of my genre. I don't know how well albums do anymore unless you're like doing things like metal. I feel like metal albums go really well, but when it leans a little electronic, it seems like singles are a little bit more successful. So in my head, it's an album, but I'm releasing it as singles.
Sure. You can always package it as an album once all the songs are together. Kind of thing.
That's probably what I'm going to do. I'm sure it won't do much for my project as much as the singles do, but it'll be for me.
Awesome. So tell me what the next step is. Are you looking at putting a band together to play these songs, or are you looking at like solo performances? You mentioned it's electronic, so I imagine there's a bunch of like backing tracks and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know that I will ever be able to do it as a band. I'm kind of going back and forth on that because there's like the possibility of shows in the future now, especially since I'm in a music community again. And so I've been trying to think of like if I just want to have like a backing track and just kind of be awkwardly on stage, or like have some bandmates for some of the like core parts, but still have a backing track. So far, one of the drummers that used to be in my band has agreed to like play for me if I ever do that. So I don't know. I have to kind of see.
That's cool. That could be unique if you were doing like vocals and then backing tracks and then had a drummer. I could see that working.
That'd be really cool. And it would make it a little more like a show rather than just I'm on a stage.
Sure. So tell me about what you kind of see for yourself going into the future. What would you like to have put together in 5 or 10 years?
Oh my goodness. If I could, I would be able to tour for maybe about half the year and then write the other half of the year, and then that's my job. Um, I would love to do that. I don't need to be rich or anything, but I'd love to just be able to take care of my bills
Sure, definitely.
on music. Yeah, I mean, every musician says that, right? But
All right. So we kind of went through kind of how you developed in music and got accustomed to it and then started writing and created your project. What are some of the events that have happened to you throughout that whole time that keeps you motivated and keeps you want to continue to make music?
oh my gosh, I mean, I want to no matter what. I'm going to say that first. Um, but it's been really cool, at least lately. Um, I've been a part of this music community on, have you heard? Well, I don't remember. Did I meet you on Threads? Or did
No,
I?
I think it was on Facebook that you responded to one of my posts.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm active in a few places, but on Threads has been where it has been like super crazy. Like, there's this band called Infina, and they started this show called Demo Nation, and that brought a lot of musicians together, and we're all just kind of hyping each other up and kind of promoting each other, and everybody's doing collabs with everybody, and it's been really motivating to like really stay on top of it and keep creating things, because you just, as soon as you're a part of it, you want to keep being a part of it. It's really cool.
Awesome. Yeah, that is cool. It kind of sounds like there's a subreddit called Game of Bands. And what happens on that subreddit is you volunteer for a round and then you're matched with like 3 other people that you have to write a song with. And then at the end of the round, your song is put up in a competition against all of like 5 or 6 other groups that all had the same assignment. And then it's like,
Wow.
it becomes like a battle of the band type things.
Okay, that's cool.
But it's all like internet collaboration. Yeah. Game of Bands, if you're interested in that. All
Okay,
right. So
I'll keep that in mind.
where can people find you? You mentioned Thread, so I imagine you're there. Where else are you
Oh yeah.
posting your stuff to?
I'm on TikTok, also YouTube. I mean, I'm on Facebook, but probably not quite as active as other places. Instagram, of course, probably Instagram and Threads are my biggest ones. Um, yeah, and I even have a website, just firesideshadow.com, where it's kind of my home base for everything.
Sure, that's great. All right, so I always like to give the person I'm interviewing the opportunity to put out their last words. So what's a message that you have that you want to share with people?
Oh my gosh, if you're thinking about writing music, but you're worried about like, oh, I don't have this or I don't have that yet, don't worry about that. You just have to start with what you have. Everything always builds up from wherever you start. So like you just have to do it. It's so worth it.